Operations Management, Module 4, Work Study. Work study is a generic term for all the techniques like method study, work measurement, etc. in order to evaluate the human work or in order to examine the human work. So work study is a mean for enhancing the production efficiency, that means the productivity. By doing a proper work study, we can increase the productivity of the firm by eliminating the waste or unnecessary operations. It's a technique to identify non-value adding operations by investigation of all factors affecting the job. So this work study helps to identify, is there any non-value adding operations uh, involved in the entire work. So those non-value adding operations can be eliminated, can be avoided if you are doing a proper work study. So it is the only accurate and systematic procedure oriented technique to establish time standards. So this work study will helps to set standard time. So it is going to contribute to the profit as a savings will start immediately and continue throughout the life of the product. That means if you are doing properly the work study, we can save a lot of time, as well as that saving in time as well as savings in avoiding non-value added operations can help them to support for the profit. So it will contribute to the profit as the savings will start immediately if you're doing a work study and if you're implementing that one. Work study involves two things. One is method study and work measurement. Method study includes motion study, and work measurement includes time study. This both these things, method study as well as work measurement, is for productivity enhancement. So by doing a proper work study, we can increase the productivity of the firm. Now let's look into the advantages of work study, or what are the benefits if you're doing work study properly. So first of all, it helps to achieve the smooth production flow with minimum interruptions. That means the production will not have any interruptions, and we can have continuous production. Continuous operations can be achieved if you are doing a proper work study. As well as it helps to reduce the cost of product by eliminating waste and unnecessary operations. So if you're, as I have mentioned earlier, it contributes to the profit by it starts saving if you're doing proper work study. So definitely it will help to reduce the cost of product by eliminating wastage of time, wastage of other items, as well as unnecessary operations. The third thing is a better worker management relations. So if you're doing proper work study, so there will not be any conflict between the workers and management, because standards time can be established and proper examination can be done. So the worker management relationship can be will not be an issue if you're doing a proper work study, and meets the delivery commitment. So if we can if we are doing proper work study, we can exactly calculate the time of operation, as well as we can calculate the time for production of a particular product, and we can give definitely we can give a commitment to the customers, we can deliver this kind of particular product on a particular time. So that work study helps to meet the delivery commitment. And the fifth one, a reduction in rejections and scrap, and higher utilization of resources of the organization. So if you are doing properly the work study, we can utilize the resources effectively, as well as we can reduce the scrap. As I have mentioned, we can eliminate the waste and unnecessary operations. So scrap will not be there, and we can avoid rejections. And the sixth one helps to achieve better working conditions. So if you are properly doing the work study in the method study, definitely it will help to have proper working conditions, so the employee will be benefited out of that one. He can do the work properly, and he can do the work in a smooth way, as well as a better workplace layout. So if you're doing proper method study, and we can arrange the workplace work layout can be improved by doing a method study that is under work study. Then improves upon the existing process or methods, and helps in standardization and simplification. So if you're doing proper method study or work study, we can standardize the work, and we can simplify the work. Unnecessary operations can be avoided, and we can thereby we can simplify the work, as well as we can standardize the work. Helps to establish standard time for an operation or job, which has got application in manpower planning and production planning. So we can set standard time, we can time standards can be established, thereby we can exactly plan our manpower requirement, as well as we can plan the production planning can be done properly. So these all are the benefits or advantages of work study. Now let's look into method study. What is method study? Method study is part of work study, as I have mentioned earlier. Work study involves method study as well as work measurement. According to British Standards Institution, method study is the systematic recording and critical examination of existing and proposed ways of doing work as a means for developing and applying easier and more effective methods and reducing cost. That means method study means a systematic recording and examination, evaluation of existing or the proposed way of doing work. Why we are evaluating or why we are recording this, systematically recording and examining the existing and proposed way of doing the work in order to develop an easier as well as an effective methods for doing that particular work. So maybe we are not doing the work, existing work in a proper way or effective way or easier way. So in order to develop an effective as well as easier way of doing work, we have to systematically record and critically examine the existing work or the proposed way of doing work, as well as this helps to reduce the cost of doing a particular work. So fundamentally, method study involves the breakdown of an operations or procedure into component elements and their systematic analysis. That means rather than doing the entire work as a whole, in method study what they do is that they will break down the entire procedure, entire operations of a particular work into components or into elements, and they will critically analyze or critically record this component parts, and thereby they will develop easier and effective methods for doing that particular work, and they can reduce the cost of operations. In carrying out the method study, the right attitude of mind is very important, because those who are conducting method study, they should have a right attitude of mind. The attitude is very important in method study, otherwise this method study will not be effective. What are the objectives of method study? Method study is essentially concerned with finding better ways of doing things, that as I have mentioned in the definition of method study. So it is to find the better ways of doing work, effective ways of doing work, easier ways of doing work. So it is mostly concerned for finding the better ways. So may not be the best, but if you're doing good, but we are trying to find out the better ways of doing things, as well as it adds values and increases the efficiency by eliminating unnecessary operations, as well as avoidable delays and other forms of waste. So it increases the efficiency as well as adds values to the product by eliminating unnecessary operations, as well as avoidable delays. We can avoid the delays, as well as we can eliminate the waste. The improvement in efficiency is achieved through uh, basically through following things like improved layout and design of the workplace. So if you want to improve the efficiency of the work, we have to improve the layout of the workplace as well as the design of the workplace, because which is very important, because the movement of workers is depend on the layout and design of the workplace. If you are not properly designing the layout or the workplace layout is not proper, it will take a lot of time, as well as it will create unnecessary operations. So the worker has to move around a lot, as well as the machines will not be operating properly. The machines will be placed in different places, so it will not be helpful to improve the efficiency of the work. So in order to improve the efficiency of the work or the production efficiency, we have to improve the layout and design of the workplace. Improved and efficient work procedures. So not only the workplace, as well as the work procedures, work steps or work methods has to be improved, and we have to find efficient work procedures has to be find out, and effective utilization of men, machines and materials. So we have to utilize our resources, production factors effectively. We have to utilize our major resources effectively in order to improve the efficiency, and design or specification of the final product has to be improved in order to have an production efficiency. So these all are the major areas we need to have an improvement in order to have an production efficiency. So method study basically is concerned with finding better ways of doing things. So that can be achieved by improving the layout and design of the workplace, and improving the work procedures, or finding out the better ways of doing the work, as well as effective utilization of resources, and um, proper design and specification of the final product. So if you are not having the proper design and specification of the final product, we will not be able to have improvement in production efficiency. Method study can be applied in manufacturing as well as service sector. This method study has a scope all over the sectors. Actually, it is not limited to manufacturing sector. It can be applied to service sector also. But the areas to which a method study can be applied successfully, mostly these are based on the manufacturing sector. So the areas where method study can be applied successfully are as follows. Like, to improve the work methods and procedures, we can improve the work methods and procedure. We can find out better ways of doing things. Better procedures can be established to determine the best sequence of doing work. So maybe we are doing the work properly, but the sequence, if we arrange the sequence in a better way, that can be identified. So we can determine what is the best sequence for doing the work, whether which work has to be done first, which work has to be done last, or which work has to be done second or second last. Like that, we can arrange the sequence of doing the work properly. We can determine and identify by doing a proper method study to smoothen material flow with minimum of backtracking and to improve the layout. So material flow can be smoothened. That means we can avoid backtracking. Backtracking means taking the steps again in order to take the material. So that can be avoided by doing a proper method study. So material flow can be smoothened to improve the work conditions and hence improve the labor efficiency. So working conditions can be improved in such a way that labor efficiency can be achieved, manpower efficiency can be achieved. In order to achieve the manpower labor efficiency, we can improve the working conditions. By doing a proper method study, we can improve the working conditions, as well as to reduce the monotony in the work. So method study helps to avoid the monotony in the work. Maybe if you're not properly doing the method study, we will not know, the worker may be doing the same thing again and again. So that monotony can be avoided sometimes. That will help, method study will help to avoid the monotony in work, to improve the plant utilization and material utilization. So we can effectively utilize our resources. Plant machinery and equipments can be effectively utilized, and material can be effectively utilized. Elimination of waste and unproductive operations can be avoided by doing proper method study, and to reduce the manufacturing cost through reducing cycle time of operation. So we can reduce the time for major operations. Suppose if for a particular work, if you're taking 10 minutes, we can reduce to 8 minutes if you're doing proper method study. So manufacturing costs can be reduced, so number of products can be produced for a particular period of time can be increased. So thereby we can achieve a profit, or thereby we can reduce the cost of manufacturing. So method study helps to reduce the manufacturing cost and reduce the cycle time of operations. Now let's look into the steps involved in method study, or the procedure involved in method study, how we can do a method study. First of all, the first thing is select the work to be studied and define its boundaries. So if you have to select a particular work, normally the important work we have to select, the major work, major time consuming work has to be selected and define its boundaries. So we have to define what is this particular work, what all things involved in this particular work. So that definition of the work has to be done properly, and what all things covered in this particular work has to be defined before doing a method study. So selection of the work as well as defining the boundaries is the first task. Second thing is record all the relevant facts about the job by direct observation and collect such additional data as may be needed for appropriate sources. So after selection of the work, we have to record all relevant facts about that particular job or work by directly observing, and to collect additional data from other sources we can collect. So maximum collect data about that particular work and facts about that particular job or work. Third thing is examine the way of the job is being performed and challenge its purpose, place, sequence, and method of performance. So after collecting the facts about the job or the data about that particular job or work, we have to examine the way of doing that particular work, and we have to challenge why we are doing this particular work in this particular way. If you're doing in another way, what will happen? So, and what is the sequence of this work? Why, if you're doing a different sequence, what is the probability? Like that, we have to examine the way of doing the work, okay, as well as, and we have to examine the method of performance we have to examine. And the fourth thing is develop the most practical and economic and effective method, drawing on the contributions of those concerned. So the fourth thing is to develop the most practical and economic and effective method. So we have to develop the practical method as well as economic method, and effective method has to be developed after examining the way of doing the job. So after examining the way of doing the work, we have to develop most practical and economic way of doing the work, most effective method of doing the work. So we have to have separate way of doing the work, most practical way of doing the work, most economic way of doing the work we have to develop. And the next thing, the fifth thing is evaluate the different alternatives. So we might have developed or we may have developed not only one alternative but many alternatives for doing the work, many practical ways of doing the work, many economic ways of doing the work, effective methods of doing the work. We might have maybe 4 or 5 alternatives of doing the work. In this particular different alternatives, we have to evaluate different alternatives, comparing the cost effectiveness with the or cost effectiveness of the selected new method with the current method of performance. And we have to evaluate these alternatives that we have developed after examining the work, way of doing the work. We have to evaluate these alternatives, and we have to compare this alternative way of doing work with the current method. The new method has to be compared with the current method. That is the next step. And the sixth step is define the new method as a result in a clear manner, and present it to those concerned, that is management or supervisors or workers. So after we have defined a particular new method uh, in a clear manner, we have to present it to the management. So after evaluation of the alternative, we are selecting the best, and we have selected the best new method that has to be presented to the management or to the supervisor or to the employees. After that, the new method has to be implemented or install that particular new method as a standard practice, and train the persons involved in applying it. And the workers, we have to give the training to the workers how to do that particular way of doing the work in order to improve the efficiency. And the last step is maintain the new method and introduce control procedures to prevent a drifting back to the previous method of work. So once we have implemented the new method of new procedure or new method of work, then there will be a tendency for the workers to go back to the previous method or previous method of work. So that has to be uh, controlled. So we have to maintain the new method in order to achieve the efficiency. So that has to be examined, and that has to be checked, that has to be controlled. Now let's look into the some of the symbols used in method study symbols. When we are doing a method study, so people uses some symbols, those who are doing method study. So O is used for an operations, and a square is used for inspection, and arrow used for transportation, and D for delay, and a inverted triangle for a storage. So these are the common symbols used for method study. And now let's look into a problem or a illustration, like develop a process chart for making a cheese sandwich. So let's look into the method study, how they are doing this one with the symbols, how they are preparing a process chart for making a cheese sandwich. The following chart is one possible solution. We have different possible solutions are possible. The level of detail of process chart depends upon the requirement of the job. Time is often included to aid analysis of the value added. So if you want to include time, you can include that one also. And this process chart, this is one possible solution. So there may be different solutions. So one of the process charts, we can look into that one for making a cheese sandwich. So this is a sample process chart. Distance in meters means distance between the worker and to the cabinet or to the workplace. So the worker is moving to that particular cabinet for making the sandwich. So that's a transportation. So that is why it's an arrow. Move to the cabinet. Then get a loaf of bread. So that's an operation. So get a loaf of bread and remove two slices of bread. That is another operation. Lay slices on the countertop. So we have to put the slices on the countertop. That's an operation. And close the loaf of bread. We have to close the loaf of bread that we have taken and replace the loaf of bread on the shelf. So we have to take that also an operations. Open butter and spread butter on the top of the slice of bread. That's also an operation. And inspect the sandwich. That's an inspection. So that's a square. So after applying the butter on the bread slices, we have to inspect the sandwich. Then move to the serving area. That's again a transportation, and serve the sandwich. That's also an operation. So this is a simple process chart for making a sandwich, cheese sandwich. Let's have another illustration like how to develop a multiple activity chart for preparing method study, for doing a method study. So develop a multiple activity chart for doing 3 loads of laundry. Assume you will have access to one washing machine and one dryer. And the following chart is one possible solution, as I have mentioned earlier also in the earlier illustrations. This is one possible solution. You can have many possible solutions like this. Let's look into this multiple activity chart. So we have two machines. Machine one is washer and machine two is a dryer. Washing machine and a dryer. And we have an operator and we have time also in the left hand side. So the operator load the clothes and detergent into machine one. So machine one, the clothes and detergent is being loaded. So the machine one being loaded, and machine two, dryer we are not using, so it's idle. And the second thing, after loading this clothes and detergent, the operator is idle. Operator is not doing anything. The machine is running. So the machine is working. Machine one, the washer is running, and the machine two is also idle. And after the washing is done, the operator is removing clothes from the machine one. So machine one, washing machine, is being unloaded. And what happened? Machine two is idle at that time. And after that, load the clothes. So washing is being done. Then the clothes being loaded to the machine two, that is dryer. The clothes is being loaded to the dryer. So in this case, machine one, washing machine, is idle. Machine one is idle, and the machine two is being loaded. And load clothes into machine 1. After loading clothes into the machine 2, the operator is not idle. Operator is loading another clothes and detergents in the machine 1. So machine 1 is being loaded, and the machine 2 is on the run process. After that, the operator is idle. So one both the machines is being running. So machine 1 is running, machine 2 is also running. Then the operator is on idle position. May not be always. Sometimes this running, if the dryer process is faster, so he has to unload. He has to unload. But we will think like the machine 2 is taking much more time than washing machine. So in that position, operator is idle. And they remove the clothes from machine 2. The operator is removing clothes from machine 2, so being unloaded in machine 2. Machine 1 is idle because it takes less time, so it's run. And hang clothes, so he is unload this particular uh, clothes from the dryer and he is hanging the clothes. This particular cycle is being repeated. So this particular cycle has been repeated until the clothes are over. So this is a sample of multiple activity chart. So like this process chart, multiple activity chart, there are many ways for doing method study, or many charts can be used for method study. Motion study. Motion study is also a part of method study where analysis of motion of an operator or work is being studied. So in motion study, it's a part of method study. So here what we are doing is motion of a particular operator, the movement of an operator or the work is being studied. The principles behind the motion study is the use of human body, the human body movement, arrangement of workplace, and design of tools and equipment. So how effectively the human body is being utilized, how effectively the workers is utilizing their hands, legs, and other parts in order to do the work properly, and how effectively you are arranging the workplace in order to improve the efficiency of the work. as well as how effective is your tools and equipments, how effective in designing the tools and equipments. So these are the major areas in motion study in order to improve the efficiency of the work. So this has to be considered when you are doing a motion study. That's all. Thank you.